Hello there, Force of Will players. My name's Charlie DeMel, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the results from the recent OLS that was hosted by Cal Tuma. So Cal tends to host weekend Force of Will events, typically every other Saturday, I believe. So if you're ever interested in those, they're webcam tourneys, but if you're ever interested in those, feel free to go sign up for them. I believe his next one is on the 22nd of January. So if you are interested in potentially playing webcam FOW, getting into it without doing like a GP or anything like that, just to see how it is, it's a great way to kind of step your foot in the door and all that good stuff. But anyway, he had one this past weekend. There was only 5 people. They're not super large typically. However, it can kind of give you like an idea of what decks some people might be playing. So if we take a look over here, again, there were 5 people, and this was the ruler breakdown. It was all order rulers, so no one was playing anything from any of the older sets. That's not how the format is, it's just how it ended up being. So first place, they played round robin, I believe. I think he just added an extra win, because I don't think Paul played himself. So I think this was 4-0, so Paul went 4-0 with Kaguya. So there were 2 Kaguyas, 2 Niars, and 1 Odin. And then second place was this Odin list. We'll get to that one in a second. But so this is Paul Martinson. Paul Martinson has tops a whole bunch of GPs. I believe he's won a GP or 2, maybe. I could be wrong on that. But very good player. So this is his take on Kaguya. For the most part, I do like his list and what he's doing. Like you see, instead of like moving off of what all the old, like the Kaguya stuff is, some of the older stuff we see that is included, we have Priscia, Seeker of Friends, Priscia's Big Show, incredible toolbox card in green, right? We have Garyon's, quick 1-mana C-spell, Neverend, Dolly, part of those 2 in here primarily for the toolbox of Priscia, Neverend especially because it functions well with Fairy Tales, and just like kind of pushing for lethal. Due to it giving everything Fairy Tale and then becoming huge, etc., etc. It's also technically a value card because it draws on enter. And then he has 4 Absorbing Knowledge. So Absorbing Knowledge is a Brad card. Brad's initial design, and you'll see he also has Spark of Life down here in his sideboard. Brad's initial design was you were supposed to kill Brad over and over again and then keep reflipping him. Very similar to how Order works. So all of Brad's cards require you to destroy target J-Ruler. So you can kill your own J-Rulers. Excuse me. I'm still getting over COVID, so not feeling great, but wanted to put a video out there. But so Brad's cards can kill your J-Ruler, your ordered card, that Kaguya typically actually has a hard time on its own forcing an unorder, right? So like you have Feast Sing. If you order Feast Sing, it can flip the Kaguya back with its activate effect, but nothing else can really do that. So Absorbing Knowledge gives you card value because you draw 2, and then it also allows you to reflip your order if you need to use it for some reason. So like if you have like a Hanzo ordered and you really need your Priscia to resolve in like a mirror match, you can kill your Hanzo and then play your Priscia, order the Priscia so it can't be canceled, and then hopefully they don't have a feasting to cancel the enter, right? Something like that. So that's how that functions. You can see he has 4 Kaguyas enter the Game of Gods in the main, and then he has 2 of, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that edition's name, but it's Kaguya's edition in the board. So these 2 cards have direct anti-synergy with each other because Kaguya's 3-drop edition gives everything Eternal and Barrier, which means they can't be destroyed. Kaguya enters the Game of Gods requires you to destroy the card, the moons, in order to get the damage value. So it's kind of like a weird direct anti-synergy. But it's nice if you're ever playing a match where you're not reliant on Kaguya enters the Game of Gods in order to win. It's good to bring those in so you can keep your additions around for something like Hanzo, Feasting, etc., etc. Looking at other stuff he has, he really likes Dolly. I just know he does, especially getting it off of Priscia, just the quick 1-mana bounce. Other good things to get off Priscia, right? Just Feasting in general. Other So Seal of Wind and Water, this is another one. Its primary function, it can get Priscia back, which is like really nice, and then it also gives you Priscia mana. So it functions as more copies of Priscia. It also functions as more copies of Feasting. The biggest issue with Seal of Wind and Water, and the biggest issue with the Kaguya deck in general, which Absorbing Knowledge helps to kind of fix, is Kaguya is very low on going value positive, and in some cases value neutral. But she's a very much like a value negative kind of deck, and she gains positive value from Hanzo canceling Chance, and then Absorbing Knowledge. Those are the only two cards that go, and even Absorbing Knowledge, not really. So the reason why Absorbing Knowledge isn't really value positive is because it requires the one card in hand, Absorbing Knowledge, and then you also kill something you played. So it's 2 cards to draw 2 cards. It's technically a value neutral card. Where at the same time, like, Feasting's a value neutral card. All counter spells are technically value neutral. So it's kind of hard for the deck to generate value. A lot of it, again, is value neutral, but not a lot of it generates positive value. So as long as you can play that like neutral game with your opponent the whole game, you'll eventually come out on top. But if you can't, you fall behind, your opponent generates too many cards, etc. You can't kill them quick enough, you'll fall behind. So that's why she's technically worse than, I believe, like Carlina, Feasting, like the other tried and true control decks that are going to be in the meta. Other quick like texts that we have on the sideboard: Altising's Secret Hideout gives everything barrier. It's just a way to give your J Ruler barrier before, or like I think it also gives it to your additions. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but the main function is it gives your J Ruler barrier. He has the witches. He has a Pointy Hat Witch and a Witch of Quenchfire. He's not playing Witch of the Fallen Kingdom in here, which I think is incorrect. I feel like he want to play Witch of the Fallen Kingdom. He might have just had issue finding space, which is fine. Spark of Life kills your J Ruler and kills a card on the field. So it's like another Absorbing Knowledge. Academy Guard of Lycian. I think these are just like toolbox cards he was trying out, and then Lumia for healing, and another Kotaro for like the mirror match. And then Mott. So this is like a pretty good skeleton to start with if you're interested in playing Kaguya, especially going forward into like GP months. We'll see if we actually have them due to like the whole Omicron thing coming back. But if we do end up having events in person, then this is like a good Kaguya skeleton to start with. If we have online events as well, also a good Kaguya skeleton to start with. Moving on, Junie be good. I'm assuming 3-1 with Odin. I don't know who this person is. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say this is... they do not have cards from older sets, because none of these cards are from older sets. The main, and like the other thing, I think they bought the Odin structure, but then I believe they also just got some packs but don't have like full singles, because as avant-garde as one Mistletoe may be, I feel like you play 4 of this card always, if you're playing Odin. So only having the 1 Mistletoe makes me think they only pulled 1 Mistletoe and just wanted to play, which is fine. It's totally fine. That's another thing for people who may not feel comfortable in a GP environment, or want to play like more casually. Cal's OLS, great place. Other things I'm not super hot on. Like, if you're trying to build Odin competitively, other cards I would not be super hot on would be Praying Valkyrie. I was super hot on this when I thought the replacement effect did something else. But, excuse me. But it doesn't, so I'm not super hot on Praying Valkyrie anymore. Soldier of Minerva I'm also not super hot on. I'd rather this just be 4 Flute from EDL. It's a mana dork. It also is like a board wipe. Also technically has a huge mana cost. I like the 3 Wind of Asgard. Love 4 Keep the Faith. That card's absurd. Odin enters the game of gods. I'd play it 4. 3 Brunhild is fine. You might want to play 4, but I could totally see you playing 3. 2 Hegel is what I would play. Rangrid, I'm actually... The more I like look at Rangrid, like the more I like that card. I don't know if I'd play it at 4. I would probably play it at 2, maybe 3 in the main. But yeah, the more I look at that card, like the better it gets. I'd only play 1 shield in the main, if you're like fully fleshing this out, by the way. The reason for 1 shield is it's super good into Mistletoe, but outside of that, you like never want to see the shield. So if you're playing like against Burn or something, adding more copies of the shield like he has sideboarded is probably really good. But against like other control decks and stuff like that, you really just don't want more copies of that shield. Repeating Faith Revival, I'd probably only play 1 of. And then Artillerist you can play for Burn, right? It's huge damage with the sword. Another funny thing you can actually do with Artillerist, I'll just pull this up real quick. You can actually play Banquet Demon in Odin with Artillerist. Or, I mean, and even like Mistletoe and stuff like that. Pitch it for 12. It's kind of hilarious. You're never actually probably going to play it, because I think Repeating Faith Revival requires you to target a light. Target Light Resonator, yeah. So you're like never going to revive it, but I don't know, just like randomly discarding Banquet Demons and doming your opponent for 24 or getting 12+1/+1 counters is kind of hysterical. At least to me. It'd be something I'd want to try out. But those were the only 2 deck lists that Mr. Cal made. Again, there are 2 other Niars and 1 other Kaguya. Hopefully people start doing like older rulers as well. I know Order's like kind of the new hotness right now. However, with, again, the ruling of you can only order with the ruler's untapped, it kind of lost a lot of potency, in my opinion. But yeah. That's it. I was trying to think if there are any more thoughts I had, but no. I expect to see there to be more Nyarlathoteps in the future, maybe. People might be just like getting better at playing around the deck, but this deck is very explosive and very strong. So maybe we'll see in the future. But again, next event will be on the 22nd. You can sign up to join his Discord, support him on Patreon, all that stuff. Cal does a whole lot and doesn't get enough as much recognition as he should. But anyway, my name's Charlie DeMel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one.